let us begin to think in the terms of empires.
Yeah.
And the only problem, if we start to think in the terms of empires, we need to find our own empire and try to make it sovereign, independent, powerful, and great. So the idea of MAGA, Make America Great Again, could be applied to make Europe great again, European empire. Make Russia great again, Russian empire. Make China great again. Make India great again. Make Africa great again. Why not? So I think we are entering with Trump, this time for sure, in the age of empires.
Hello, everyone. This is Sputnik News, and I'm your host, Dmitry Simes Jr. Today, we're joined by political philosopher Alexander Dugin, and we obviously want to talk about Trump. But we are a global news agency, and Alexander Dugin is one of the most interesting philosophers in the world today. So we're going to be taking questions from our colleagues all across the world. Professor Dugin, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
There's so much we could discuss when it comes to Trump, but I want to start with his recent comments about Russia and Ukraine, because he put out a statement saying that basically trying to threaten President Putin into a Ukraine peace deal, claiming that the Russian economy is supposedly failing, and that if Putin doesn't do as Trump asks, the United States will impose new sanctions against Russia. The day before that, he put out a very dubious statement claiming that Russia lost far more soldiers than Ukraine during this conflict. And to all of you who have monitored this conflict from the very beginning, I think you can all understand why this claim is not very persuasive and not plausible in the least bit. But I want to ask you, Professor Dugin, do you think that this is some sort of negotiating bluff strategy, or is Trump misinformed about what's really happening?
I think both. He is misinformed. He doesn't understand the nature of the existential threat that the very existence of hostile Ukraine represents for Russia. And he is, now he expresses, as long as I understand that, his will to stop that. Because for him, personally, for Trumpism, for all the plans and the strategies of Trumpist conservative revolution on the global scale, Russia doesn't represent anything really important that seriously doesn't matter. So that, and for him, he likes, as long as I understand Trump's logic, to put the end to the hostility as soon as possible, without entering in the details, in the historical circumstances, and to stop the strategy that was implemented by previous administration. So he sincerely wants to stop Ukrainian conflicts, to discard that, to concentrate on something different. But doing so, I think he doesn't take in consideration the position of Russia. So he is dealing with a kind of totally imagined image, totally imagined figure of Russian Federation, of Putin, that doesn't correspond to any reality. So, and I think that it is very sad that we Russians, we see now in Trump this side. So please stop this conflict, otherwise I will sanction you. So that is not, we are already very, we had so many sanctions from the West, we have acquired a kind of immunity to any kind of such pressure, of hard and harsh words against us. So, but these elements that in our eyes, in Russian eyes, is just continuation of the previous Russophobic attitude of the collective West, it somehow overshadows very interesting and global changes that Trumpism has brought with itself. So we are concentrated on this secondary and totally, I think, unimportant element of Trump's position on a global scale in geopolitics, and we are losing from consideration the other aspect of what Trump has brought with him. So I think that and our administration of president and our government understand very well the measure and the depth of the Trump's declarations. So we don't pay too much attention to that. That was repeated so many years already with different very aggressive steps, concrete steps against us. We are in war with the collective West, with globalists. And in that sense, if Trump continues that wanting maybe in some naive manner to stop it, to put the end to that, we don't care too much about the radical notes and cruel notes of his speech. That is nothing new in that, nothing new in that. So I am absolutely sure that Putin could enter in the talks with Trump, but first he needs to explain to him the strategical depth and existential dimension of Ukrainian problem for us, because existence of Russophobic Ukraine is not compatible with the existence of the sovereign Russia. That's all. So if you can accept that, you can reject that. That is our stance. If this is taken in consideration by the other side, talks could begin. Without that, on very superficial understanding of situation and miscalculation about the real potential and real power of Russia, who could stand all these years the fight, the war with the collective West. So if you dismiss that, if you put that out of the major frame of the talks, so you could not arrive to anything. So I think that is very awkward situation, I think. But Trump, maybe he's very, very, very sincere. He wants to stop the conflicts that he didn't start. He wants to grant, I think, to Russia these acquired territories. But for Russia, it's so small. For Trump, it could seem that it is big deal. For us, it is humiliation, because we need to liberate whole territory of Ukraine from Nazi presence. That was the reason and the goal from the very beginning of the special military operation. And without completing this task that we consider very possible, and if we would deal only with Ukraine, or with Ukraine and Europe without United States aid in this situation, I think it will take some months to achieve our goals. But Trump obviously sees situation differently, and in my opinion, in my strategical view, it could be trap. Ukraine could be trap for Trump, because it is an irresolvable problem, at least with normal and conventional means. It could not enter correctly in the strategical vision of Trump. So, and it will stop and prohibit the progress in the other directions, in inner politics, domestic politics in the United States, and relations between United States and China, United States and European Union. So that is a kind of obstacle, the trap put by globalists before they have left the office. And that is most important thing. And I hope that we stop to speak about Ukraine. That would be better. So let us continue our task. Let the West protest against that. But for Trump, it would be better to stay out. He is not the ruler of the world. He is great, charismatic leader of the United States that should accomplish a very huge task to make America great again, but not on the behalf of Russia or other big sovereign power. We have very similar set of traditional values, of orientations, and Russia and Putin, we have started that long before than Trump. So we have very much in common now with the Trumpists government, and Ukraine is the kind of obstacle in our relations. I doubt that we could easily and resolve this problem soon. And the later we start this talk, the better, I think. Maybe it will take 1 year or maybe 2 years. And I would suggest to Trump, that is very positively seen from Putin's Russia, above all by our conservatives. We share many things with American conservatives, but I would suggest to put that on the shelf, the Ukrainian problem, and to concentrate on something much more of life importance for Trumpism. And Ukraine certainly is not the part of existential interests of United States. It's very far territory that has no meaning. That is inertia. That was started by globalists who are and who were, who will be. Well, that's important. The main enemies of Trump, Putin and Russia. We are not enemy of Trump. We don't threat. We don't represent any menace to United States, to American interests. We just neutral, but Ukraine should be ours. That's all. We demand only one thing: don't support Nazi regime in Ukraine, and any other issues we could discuss, make deal. But Ukraine for us is not deal. Ukraine for us is the destiny, is mission, is our identity. It is condition of our sovereignty and independence. And Trump, being sovereignist and realist, should understand it logically.
You make a really interesting point about how Russia and Trump have a common interest, a common position in opposing globalists. But I can't help but wonder, I see, yes, Trump is against the globalists, but he seems to be replacing globalism with what I call greater American chauvinism. Basically, this idea that America deserves to be global hegemon, not because of the rules-based liberal international order, but because might makes right, and America deserves to have all the resources in the world, all the land in the world, just because it wants to. And we see that with the whole annexation of Greenland, Canada, Panama Canal, that basically Trump is dropping any ceremonies and saying that America wants to be a ruthless empire in the old school method of being so. And I can't help but wonder, from Russia's perspective, maybe it's better to have a globalist like Kamala Harris, who's incompetent, who's unpopular as your adversary, than to have this sort of chauvinist, new nationalist imperialist like Trump.
We can easily compare. We already had the globalists at the head of United States, and we have arrived with their rule at the moment of the Third World War, nuclear strikes, and that all this mess was started, organized, and supported by them. So it is not about guessing. Would Kamala Harris be better? It for sure. It would continue the same globalist strategy. That means the continuation of escalation between the collective West and Russia, and certainly war. So this kind of globalist hegemony, we already know. We know how they impose their so-called woke strategy, their diversity, equality, inclusiveness system of rules. We know their double morality. We know the depths of their perversion, and how they perverted their own country, their own societies, this uncontrolled migration. And that is the hell. The globalists, they wanted and they still want, they hope to bring the hell on the earth, to transform the earth, the humanity into post-human, post-normal, transgender demons. So that is possession, the program of global possession by and perversion of everything. So we could not find any common point with them. So the relations between them and us were relations of to be or not to be. So, and they were, until the last moment, very powerful, very strong. The collective West, Europe and United States and many other countries were under influence of this globalist elite. And for us, it was very hard to fight against this globalist hegemony. And we hardly could hope to avoid direct nuclear confrontation. That's why all this talks about using of nuclear weapon. I agree that Trump is hegemony, as well hegemony, but a totally different style. That is not Wilson doctrine, but rather Monroe doctrine. So Trump is bothered much more by Western Hemisphere, by the control of the oceans around North American continent and integration of other territory that belongs to the same sphere, geopolitical sphere. So, for example, if Trump annexes Canada, I don't think that the Russian will be against that. So we don't care. So that is America for Americans. This kind of hegemony we could accept because that doesn't concern us. About the Greenland, so to whom belongs Greenland? As well, it is not our problem. It could belong to Denmark or the United States. Now, United States have a total strategical control over these islands. So that will not change anything. So there will be the problem with Latin American countries, but as well, we are not lively involved, existentially involved in the destiny of Latin American countries. So, and I think that in some proportions, this kind of American greatness could be tolerated and accepted by us. That maybe without recognizing that directly, that would mean multipolar world. America for Americans, Europe for Europeans, Russia for Russians, China for Chinese, Islamic world for Islamic people, India for Indian, Africa for Africans, Latin America for Latin Americans. So it could be a kind of objectively and not subjectively supported multipolarity without willing that from Trump.
So old school imperialism is preferential to globalism.
Absolutely, I'm sure, absolutely sure, because globalism is the worst thing at all. It is not by the chance that globalism is as geopolitical strategy is accompanied, is linked to this ideological ultra-liberal agenda of LGBT, woke, critical racial theory, and all transhumanism, and all the kind of perversions. So globalism is worst of all. We have no yet the full experience of this MAGA project, Make America Great Again project in the reality. Maybe it will show, it will manifest, maybe it manifests very dark and dreadful aspects, but we need to know. We don't know that. We could not be sure. It is something new. It is something opposite, alternative to the globalist strategy. And globalist strategy, on the contrary, we know very well, and we know what that means, what it has costed to us, because globalists and not American imperialists have started the war in Ukraine.
So since we're on the topic of discussing something new, I attended your lecture a couple days ago, and you made the very fascinating point that Elon Musk is becoming the Anti-Soros, essentially. Could you break that argument down for our viewers? You know, how is Elon Musk essentially becoming the reverse image of George Soros?
So we could deduce that from his post in his XCOM social network. He has openly declared that. So Soros have used the global network of different kinds in the NGO, in the network of social services and so on, and political influence to promote globalist agenda. One kind of ideology. This ideology that Soros has tried to impose on all the humanity worldwide, this ideology was overthrown recently by Trump. And Elon Musk represents quite opposite to this Soros ideology of open society, of promotion of a left liberal agenda, woke, critical decolonization, critical racial theory, and other migration, destruction of the national states, undermining of all kind of sovereign entities through the world, working against Modi, against Xi Jinping, against Putin, against Orban, against African, Latin American, Islamic leader who have shown any feature of sovereignty. So the networks of Soros were globalists and still are globalists, and promoting on a very high technological level this globalist liberal left liberal agenda. The classical conservatives in the United States, they were not normally on the hate of this technological use of such weapon. They were inclined much more to restore American tradition, classical attitude. So and they could be regarded as alternative to Soros. They fought and they still fight against Soros inside of America, but United States of America. But they never dreamed to replace Soros. And that is very interesting revolutionary strategy of Elon Musk, because he has suggested we should not only fight against Soros, but we need to repeat this technological strategy in order to promote totally alternative ideology, not left liberal, much more conservative, but with the same high technological level. We need to create the networks of conservative people through the world. We need to support conservative leaders who share traditional values, and we need as well from time to time to overthrow the government, to make regime change operation, but in the sense totally opposed to the sense that it has implemented George Soros and his network. So if someone in the eyes of Soros was considered to be the partisan of the sovereignty of traditional values, he or she should be immediately overthrown. But Musk take that as the method, but has changed totally the goal. If you see some globalists at the head of the state, Keir Starmer, Scholz, or Emmanuel Macron, we need to support anti-Macronist, populist, left or right, better right, because Trumpists are on the right side. Let help to those who are the political and social and cultural ideological opponents of these globalists. So let use the global strategy in totally contrary sense. And Russia was blamed for that many times, but never was really involved in that. So that was the image that Putin's network exists through all the world, overthrowing the democratic, liberal, globalist government. That there is no case, not any case that could be proven, and that is just the counteroffensive image of globalists. But Musk doesn't want to say, "Oh, never. We will respect the democratic rules. We will never participate in the regime change. So we are restoring the freedom of speech." No, he says, let us do exactly what Soros has done, but in totally ideologically opposed direction. It is called, by the way, woke right, because there is the woke. We know how it works. It is precisely Soros style regime change, anti-democratic, liberal, totalitarian operation on the world scale. It is the woke. Anti-woke, it is stop liberal censorship. It is anti-woke. But there is another thing, and I think Musk represents it very well symbolically. He is rather woke right. So let not only stop liberal totalitarian censorship, let do the same for the liberals and globalists themselves. Let us put them in our place. We were persecuted, killed, tortured, overthrown, marginalized, demonized by the woke left. Let's do now the same for them. Let them pay the same price, and that horrifies liberals. That is really because they didn't expect that. That is too radical. That is too soon. That is too dynamic. And I think that Elon Musk it is the element that makes the Trumpism something very different from traditional conservatism or traditional imperialism or traditional chauvinism or traditional nationalism. It's something different. It is very expansive, dynamic, and highly technological, highly developed technologically, global strategy, how to promote traditional values. I think that is huge.
And so, we've been talking about the fact that Trumpism has the potential to be hugely transformative. But both of us have read the great contemporary American thinker Curtis Yarvin, and he makes the point that if we want to make America great again, America has to get rid of democracy. Because when you, for example, look at Congress controls the budget of the federal agencies, the appointees of federal agencies, even the structure of federal agencies. And we know from Trump's first term, Congress and even congressional Republicans greatly sabotaged Trump's agenda. You look at the current congressional Republican leadership, they're unreliable. Trump has a narrow majority in Congress, both in the House and the Senate. And as early as 2026, there will be the midterm elections and Democrats could regain either the House or the Senate or both. If Trump wants to make America great again, should he abolish the republic and make America an imperial monarchy like the Romans once did?
I think that is something like that is inevitable. So we see that democracy, liberalism are the good-sounding names for the version of global oligarchy or global dictatorship with censorship, with total control over human minds and bodies, as well as we have seen in this lockdown, COVID. So we see that it is not the fight between democracy and totalitarianism. That democracy could serve either to globalist totalitarianism or to some sovereignty of the people. So, but it is just a tool. Democracy is not religion. It is not ontology. It is just instrument. And I think the many elements inside of democracy, representative democracy above all, not direct democracy that was advocated in Mars by Elon Musk. And I think that this democracy, representative democracy, is designed for oligarchy to rule. So this all kind of elections that could be manipulated, paid, rigged by global oligarchy, they use precisely to limit or destroy totally the sovereignty of the people. And if we want sovereignty of the people and the real projection in the future of the free will of the society, of the people, of the tradition of religious communities, we need something else. We need their solid representation in some charismatic leader who could take a burden to accomplish historical mission of its own culture and its own people. That is the idea of Curtis Yarvin, to make not only America great again, but make America monarchy in order to have stable, highest power that shouldn't be depending from the these oligarchic intrigues and shadow government, deep state, some different project of globalists in the globalist lodges as Davos Forum. So that either global government or the sovereign popular monarchy. In that sense, we are in a very similar position, because something like that already exists in Russia, because this huge amount of confidence and power transmitted by our society, by our people in totally free free gesture, we have given to Putin this monarchic power precisely. And the fact that he is not depending from intrigues, political balance of different interests group. He shouldn't be too bothered by elections. We have given to him the total confidence. We have said, as always in our history, if you are our leader, be free from all domestic problem. So lead us ahead in the future and accomplish our dreams. So I think that Curtis Yarvin, in spite of extravagancy of such affirmations that America should abolish liberal democracy and install for the first time monarchy, America was never the real monarchy. That is futuristic conservative revolutionary project. I think it is very, very close somehow to our own understanding how the legitimate political system should be. We should abandon all these liberal democratic demagogic talks about how great it is to organize elections every year or very soon, how a representation of the society should be established. All that was open the real nature of the lie of liberal democracy was manifested in this neoliberal, left-liberal totalitarianism that has ruled the world until recently. So I think that Biden was the last representative of this old liberal oligarchic, globalist, anti-national, anti-sovereign so-called democracy. And I think that Trump, if he is serious and if his revolution is serious, should revise somehow the principles of American political system.
Yeah, instead of having an inauguration, he should have a coronation.
And that was coronation ball. That was called. You have already the Boda Tsar. So, if, for example, you Americans, you annex Canada as the 51st state, you could reinstall this state, reinstall the country, reinstall the political regime, because that will be new country, and Trump could stay American monarch forever, or organize some translation of ideological power of conservative traditionalists.
Yeah, instead of being, he could take a play from the Habsburg playbook, right? Because there was the Austrian monarchy, but then in 1867, they established the Kingdom of Hungary, and it became the Austro-Hungarian Empire. And so I think there would be something poetic about Trump annexing Canada and making it the Americano-Canadian Empire.
Great. And the other thing, very interesting, intriguing in the Curtis Yarvin vision, it is the use for establishing new American empire, new American kingdom, monarchy. Use the high technology, Silicon Valley because some the same Curtis Yarvin was one of the intellectual leader of Silicon Valley. So he is high developed technocrat. So that is idea not to make a restoration of the past, but his idea of American empire, it is futuristic, highly technological, developed project, as monarchy as startup.
Yeah.
That is very interesting. That is collusion. That is point of unification of right tech, represented by Andreessen and many other other oligarch tycoons who have, in the last moment, who have joined Trump. So on one side, and the other side, that is the dream of American national populists, of traditionalists. That could be very interesting.
The only vote difference from, again, another difference with traditional monarchies is that traditional monarchies were based on a warrior aristocracy and a priestly class. Whereas here, as you mentioned, it's, basically technological CEOs / oligarchs, technocrats. So I think that ironically, given the fact that Trump is so anti-China, probably the closest model to what he could potentially end up building is Imperial China, which was, again, not a warrior aristocracy, but a civil servant technocrat or aristocracy.
Exactly. I think that Trumpists, they misunderstand modern China. Modern China is the mixture between traditional empire, exactly as you have explained, with some social cohesion and solidarity that is presented as socialism, communism, as left, but it is traditional Confucianist attitude of Chinese society. So I think that we should not judge from the surface of the things. In order to understand the real nature of Chinese political system, we need to study better, to get deeper in that. So that is much more like new technocratic futuristic Chinese empire than socialist, Marxist, internationalist society. It's something different. Certainly, I think the same way is going India. Modi recently has declared that he is representative of Paramatman, and Paramatman is the highest metaphysical level of inner self, innermost self. So that is according to Upanishads teaching of Indian religion. So he has declared himself something more than just political elected prime minister. So I think that this monarchic tendency, monarchic trend is not proper only to China or to Russia or to India. It is global trend. Interesting, because globalists themselves, if they succeed, if they would succeed, they would establish something like that, the kingdom or empire of highly technological developed empire of Antichrist, something like that. So, but totally perverted and based on anti-traditional values. And what is the idea of Trumpism is to restore or return to the traditional values, only to gender, family, abolishment of the uncontrolled immigration, of critical racial theory, and restoring the freedom of speech. That is important, because one of the first decrees of Trump was restoration of freedom of speech. That means that it was lost, that there was no real freedom of speech, and a reaction of some European press agency, on Mark Zuckerberg's willingness to join the camp of Trump and Elon Musk was considered as the revolutionary challenge to establish a system. When Zuckerberg has said, I am going to abolish liberal censorship in Facebook and Instagram, immediately he was blamed as Nazi, because for modern days globalism, totalitarian rule is everything. So they could not permit any kind of free speech. So everybody should repeat the only one narrative imposed by liberal globalists. And finally, that is totalitarian system with some hidden monarch in the center. Maybe it is not Soros, maybe it is not Rothschild, maybe it is some other person and figure, but it is global oligarchy that is centralized, based on totalitarian repression of any kind of people of dissidents, or people who thinks otherwise. So we now paradoxically we are in the age of competing types of monarchies. So the dreams and illusions of liberal democracy are over, and we should not choose monarchy or not monarchy. We are obliged to choose this kind of monarchy, of other kind of monarchy, American monarchy, Russian monarchy, Chinese monarchy. So let us begin to think in the terms of empires. Yeah. And the only problem, if we start to think in the terms of empires, we need to find our own empire and try to make it sovereign, independent, powerful and great. So the idea of MAGA, Make America Great Again, could be applied to make Europe great again, European empire. Make Russia great again, Russian empire. Make China great again. Make India great again. Make Africa great again. Why not? So I think we are entering with Trump this time for sure in the age of empires. And I personally agree with Curtis Yarvin that it is the solution, because otherwise the democratic procedures could be very, very easily rigged by globalists and oligarch, and they will counterattack for sure Trump. And I would wish to him to be on the same wave of victory with, say, dynamism, promoting his ideological anti-globalist agenda and implementing alternative political system in the United States. That would be great.
And on that powerful note, thank you so much, Professor Dugin. And to all our viewers, thank you for tuning in. If you like this video, please make sure to repost it. Please make sure to like it. And if you want to keep up with our news, our geopolitical analysis that comes from a totally different perspective seen in the Western mainstream media, please make sure to follow us on X. Please make sure to follow us on Telegram. Thank you all for tuning in. Till next time.